Welcome to the living room where we're learning how to live healthy, even though we're living in a bit of a toxic world. But let me tell you, God is still on the throne and nothing takes him by surprise. And if we are his children, we know we are protected, provided for, protected, even in these times. And it's not by coincidence that see, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
All right, because I'm going to actually, because I can barely hear you, but I'm going to turn the volume up on this. All right, good deal. All right, yay, okay. All right, so if you have not already muted yourself, go ahead and mute yourself out. Thank you so much for joining us. I've been working on this project for quite some time, and lo and behold, I ended up, and I'm going to share this because Patty's coming on board here. And
your screen's not on, Lavon. Your shared screen is not on.
All right, I have not changed anything. It was on and now it's off, and I haven't touched a thing. Let me pause. No, I'm going to pause recording. Oh. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. It is April 20, is it 21st? It is, it's the 21st of April, where we are at Healthy Living Inspirations, where we're learning how to live healthy, even though we're living in a toxic world. So tonight's class, I do a lot of research on different companies. And so tonight we're going to cover, I chose a few companies to actually unveil because they actually represent the rest of the industry pretty much. So if you know one, you will know them all. It's kind of like knowing a liar. If you know one liar, then you will know all the liars that are out there. They will be revealed as to who they really are. And I've titled this Level Up to a Higher Standard for Your Health, because listen, we're in a crisis. And it's going to take the real thing, the real deal, to help our body to maintain a level of health that will sustain life and give us the level of vitality that we need in order to live out our days to God's glory. So level up to a higher standards, and we're going to talk about leveling up to the labels. Who has the time-tested track record? We're going to take a look at that, because that, by the way, is what's important. When you're voting for a candidate out there, everybody knows today, you cannot believe anything anybody says from the microphone. You have to go back and actually examine how they've been voting all along for the years they've been in office already. You have to see what their character is. You have to see what their time-tested integrity level is, because that's what's going to tell the facts about who they really are. And we're going to do that right now as we dive into label reading and understanding the industry. And we're going to come to a conclusion, who really has that time-tested, proven track record? Well, yes, I'm here to declare it's that bad. So let's face the facts. Yes, about 98% of supplements sold in America, and I wouldn't doubt around the world, because the same manufacturers own them all, are synthetic. I'm going to repeat that one more time. 98% are synthetic. And it's so funny, because I do meetings all over the United States, and I've done meetings even other countries. And what's so interesting is there's going to be somebody in the room that's been taking a certain brand of supplements, and they're going to say, not mine. Mine is not that 98%. Mine's a good percent. Mine's the 1%. Well, let's put it under a microscope tonight. Let's fairly examine it, and let's make a a decision based upon the facts, not based upon the feelings. You know, the marketing knows that you can become attached to a certain brand. And it's almost like a family member. And it's like, I go into homes a lot and I can tell you exactly what brands people buy by their surroundings. And yeah, if I try to say, you know, this, let's say Tide detergent has chemicals in it that are harmful and will disrupt your hormones. And I look at the face of the woman and go, no, not my Tide. I've been using Tide and my mother used Tide and my grandmother used Tide and don't take my Tide. and yet, you know, it's because we become attached to certain brands. But in today's world, it's time to pull away, pull up your stakes, pull out your anchors, don't get offended. Just simply look at the facts, do your own investigation. And we've got to make higher level choices because we are in a kind of a crisis that requires higher level choices. So that leaves 2%, right? So out of the 2%, 1% are considered, they come from a food source, but they're isolates. Now, what's the problem with isolates? You know, well, your cells have whole profile number of receptors for each cell. So God designed every cell to receive the family of nutrients, not just one. That's a concept. And the isolates will actually flood your cell receptors and not leave any room for the other family members. Let's say you're taking a B12, which I used to do that. I used to go to the doctor and get a B12 shot. Why? Because that was the hype thing to do. That's what the doctor suggested for me to do for my low energy and it's the symptoms that I was having. I said, okay, so I did that. And I didn't realize that when you flood the cells with one family member of a B12, all the receptors get flooded. And then when I sit down and I might consume a large salad with some vegetables on it that had other B vitamins in it, or a piece of protein that had some other B vitamins in it, then the receptors were already filled. And so I would become deficient in B1 and B6 and some of the other family members because there's one family member that flooded everything. Have you ever had a family member? I don't know, you may have, I know I have in the past. I can name that family member that when you walk into the room, they just suck in all the oxygen and there's no more oxygen left for you to even open your mouth. That's kind of like an isolate flooding your cell receptors. So now you have the other 1% that is made from whole foods that have the whole food profiles. That means they're biologically complete. They have the entire profile of the nutrient blended in together with their nutrients. So your body needs all the parts, not just one. And actually my reference was Bob Phillips' book on this information. So you're taking a look, yes, and now let's take a look at 90% of supplement companies are owned by big, massive pharma, and I'm talking big pharma. So I hope everybody can hear this, but I'm going to click on this video, and this is a European gentleman who is a health expert, and he's going to share this.
How do you tell whether your supplement company that you're buying stuff from is any good or not? Well, it's a real issue because I would say 90% plus of all the natural health manufacturers out there have been taken over by the pharmaceutical industry or big food or big pharma. So, I think probably one of the famous makes in England is Solgar. That's owned by the Carlyle Group. And they're the eventual owner. The Carlyle Group are arms manufacturers, arms dealers. Hello, come in and take a seat wherever you like. So who owns Holland & Barrett? Carlyle Group. Who owns Puritan's Pride? Carlyle Group. Who owns GNC? Carlyle Group. So, obviously, of course, we all trust arms dealers with our health. You know, that would be who you choose to shop with. So, you know, you've got to be careful who you buy your stuff from. And just because it was good last year doesn't mean it is going to be good next year. You know, you know, what did the Chinese do in the...
All right. So what did you hear what he said? Number one, you had big, huge corporations that are stockholders that are buying up all of the industry. And he said, just because a product might have a fairly decent formula this year doesn't mean it's going to have the same formula next year. And this is what we found that's happened many, many times. As I travel around, I hear all the stories, and I hear these stories. Well, when I first started taking this juice, when I first started taking these supplements, I actually got some benefits out of it. And it helped me, but now I'm not getting those benefits. In fact, I'm getting more inflammation, and I'm having all of these problems and issues. And you'll go back and find out that many times they'll dilute the formulas. And this is just a standard practice in the industry, to start out with a fairly decent formula and then gradually dilute it so the consumer doesn't immediately sense the difference, but over time. And again, they only want you to take it long enough to be attached to the brand. Wow. So synthetic antioxidants can actually harm you. And this is where we repeat and talk about these specific studies that's been done. And because only whole food antioxidants can effectively scavenge the free radicals in the mammalian animal kingdom, or in the, I call it humankind, biological systems, and they do it safely. So in other words, the only thing that is totally compatible to you is whole food. You can create an antioxidant through synthetics. They do it all the time. That's the majority of what's in the supplements today that's being sold, but it's just not compatible to your biology. And it's just not going to, the nature of it is not going to play out and do what God intended for antioxidants to do in the body, which is to neutralize damage. So then let's talk about plants and herbs offer life-changing benefits. What kind of life-changing benefits do plants and herbs offer that gasoline and synthetic oils don't? Well, how about synthetically duplicated vitamins can only mimic? Does that remind you of someone in the Bible? They cannot perform the task of real whole food nutrients in the body. No matter how much synthetic vitamins or industrially processed nutrients one takes orally, they never, ever will. They cannot conduct the same job that God intended through nutrition to do inside the living body, the living cells, and the living systems of your body. They can never be a truly complete nutrient source. They'll always be an isolate. You cannot put together a complete, they will only maybe trigger one enzyme action when, let's say, a B complex is going to trigger or affect hundreds of enzymatic actions in the body, but a synthetic one will only be able to maybe affect one, maybe two. They will never be able to replace all the functions of food and herbal vitamins and minerals. They will always be an unnatural substance to the body. They will always strain the body by requiring that it detoxifies, because the body will say this is a foreign object, this is a foreign substance. So now we have a bigger, heavier body burden, and we're going to have to now detox this synthetic E or synthetic beta carotene or this synthetic nutrient that you put in the body. and it has to dispose it of these unnatural elements. They're invading the body. They will never be utilized completely. They will never be absorbed completely. They will never be retained as same as food-based nutrients. And they will never be able to prevent advanced protein glycation, which is just your metabolism functioning properly of energy going in, utilizing that energy, waste byproducts, and then flushing out the waste byproducts, and you gleaning the energy source from that protein source. The end product formation is the same as, can never be the same as a real food nutrient. They can never be able to have the proven antioxidant effects that same as food nutrients, and they will always be an industrialized product. In other words, a zebra cannot change his stripes. He will always be a zebra. I don't care if you paint over him, it will rain one day, or the zebra will get in a pond and he'll wash all that paint off, because once a synthetic, once it's derived, it will be exposed as the synthetic chemical that it really is. It will never be anything else but what it was when it entered the body. It doesn't go into the body as gasoline and come out as a living resource of health. And it will always be composed of petroleum derivative, hydrogenated sugars, and or industrialized processed rocks, which is generally that 98% we talked about. That's where our supplements are coming from. And it will never build optimal health as real food nutrients. And I know that's a mouthful, but it's real important to understand that, because I guarantee you, you're going to run across a friend, a loved one, a family member that says, oh, I've been taking my one a day, my Centrum Silver, I've been taking my vitamin and my brand for 20 years and it hasn't killed me yet. I know, because I hear those comments quite often. So let's move right along and see. Synthetic oils can harm your health. Here is a British medical journal talking about some studies that were done with fish oil. And of course, this fish oil study was done with synthetic fish oil, not a real living animal of the ocean. And interestingly enough, that now Big Pharma has launched a version of these omegas and type of fats and their chemical giants that manufacture all the synthetic oils. And the company is, you can read it right there on the slide, Solvay. Look it up for yourself. And then here you have a Finland study that was done with a synthetic vitamin E and a synthetic beta carotene. You know, I always share, your body does know the difference between a carrot and gasoline. And it showed here that the synthetic vitamins, synthetic vitamins are not food. They are synthetic chemicals, and only vitamins from whole food, edible, human food chain sources can be considered nutrients for the body. And they showed that actually it accelerated the death and heart attacks and lung cancer in these that took this, that was a part of this study that they posted. So who chose to level up in this graph? Now let's take a look at Neolife fish oil. I call it a salmon because it really is a salmon. And so let's compare to the other side of the Nordic fish oil, because I hear a lot of times, but I take the best, it's Nordic, or I take the best, it's Costco. I take the best, it says it's from a fish, it says it's this and that, and it's been tested for mercury. I'm good, I'm good. Well, over on the left side, you'll see a comparison that Neolife source specifics their silver coho salmon. On the other side, where does Nordic get their fish oil from? Anchovies and sardines. I was very impressed that it was actual fish and not the synthetic. Then on the left side, is it biologically complete with all 8 omegas? Well, on the right side, no, I looked at the label and it only had 3 and it had a mixture of a few others, but it is incomplete. And then how many toxins does it really test for? I do know that Neolife tests for over 200 families of toxins with a 0 tolerance, and there is no indication who tests and how many and what they test for and what levels they test at for their tolerance levels that they allow. And then on the left, Neolife is cold pressed. It's very important. And on the right, guess what? It is distilled. Now, when you think of distilled, you think of applying heat, right? Distillation is applying heat and it produces this vaporization. So they're actually applying heat to this oil or these fish oils. And what happens when you apply heat to any kind of an oil, you actually immediately oxidize it. So this oil is immediately oxidized. And then has this fish oil that Nordic sells, has it been clinically tested on humans? That's a biggie. Why? Because I think that right there is going to be the breaker that's going to be the maker of what you're going to choose to put in your body. And I should say this right up front, that I wouldn't put anything in my body, knowing what I know today, that calls itself a supplement unless I can see the clinical human studies that's been done on it to prove that it's not going to harm me. So there are no clinical studies on Nordic fish oil. And then has there been any peer-reviewed medical journals posted about the amazing research that's been done on your particular formula? Yes. Neolife, yes. And Nordic, no. So looking at this label, who is leveling upward for health on this label? Well, it's hands down, it's Neolife. Then you want to take a look. This is the actual label from the Nordic, and you can actually see here where it says purified deep sea fish oil from anchovies and sardines. There is no salmon in there, and it has a natural lemon flavor. Why does it have a natural lemon flavor? Because it's oxidized, because they have applied heat and it's been distilled, and they usually extract the oils from the fish using methyl esters, which is a chemical that can disrupt your gut biome, that can cause a lot of oxidation and inflammation in the body. And this is why when they do a lot of their research on fish oil, that they're showing, oh my goodness, it's causing inflammation. Why would you want to take a fish oil? But what they're not looking at is the source of that fish oil and how it's extracted and processed. And you can see here that it only contains 3, and then a few of the others, 1, 2, 3, 4 of the others. So you can see right there, but on the label, what does it say? Lemon flavor for potency, purity, freshness, non-GMO, and sustainable. So they're only going to put on the label what they think that you're going to be attracted to and what they can say about their particular brand or product. So they can't say it's cold pressed. They can't say it's tested for 200 toxins. They can't say that it has all 8 omegas, the whole profile. They can't say that it's been posted in peer-reviewed medical journals. They can't say that it's been tested clinically on humans. They can't say any of that. So they just say, yay, I'm getting a lemon flavor, and oh, it's potent and it's pure as we could get it. So here's some more. Dangerous drug found in supplements. Lifescience.com is where I found this. untested stimulated drugs found in 12 different supplements. This actually is happening all over. I could have spent days and days and days on the internet just pulling one article after the other of all kinds of drugs that they're putting in our supplements. They found them in the GNC, they found them in the vitamin world, they find them all over, and they're finding that they're spiked with drugs. A stimulant drug called DMBA was lurking in these 12, and these were particularly weight loss and sports type of supplements sold at mainstream vitamin shops. And then they went around and they found bone broth proteins found to contain insect repellent, antibiotics, and more pharmaceutical drugs. My goodness. And then here's another report, more supplements found to be adulterated with drugs, Consumer Report. I mean, it's just over and over again. Several brain boosting supplements found to contain dangerous types of drugs in it. And some of the side effects include diarrhea, anxiety, insomnia, agitation, drowsiness, weight gain, depression. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So it's a wild, wild west out there. And you need to know whether or not the supplement you're purchasing to put in your body in order to fill the gaps in our daily amount of nutrients or help solve a health challenge is going to help you or harm you. So taking a look at this, in 2018 study found that there were unapproved and sometimes dangerous ingredients in 770. See, we think, oh, this is just an isolated incident. You're blowing this out of proportion. You're just hyping this up. You just want to sell a product. 776 dietary supplement products advertised as weight loss and bodybuilding and sexual enhancement products. Oh my goodness, dangerous, dangerous ingredients. Is it again helping you or harming you? Then we take a look as the root will determine the fruit. And this is how I've been taught to do my research. I've learned through hard knocks not to just read the label, but to do a deep dive into the label and understand the industry, the philosophy behind the industry, and the concepts to which the company operates, the industry operates, and their history, their time-tested integrity or their time-tested fraud. So, are your vitamins lying to you? Get smart. And I actually learned a lot of the information from this Consumer Reports that came out. It was dedicated completely to supplements and what these third-party testing and validation codes on labels really mean, what they really test for, what they really do. So we're going to talk about that. Are we being poisoned? New York Attorney General says, oh my goodness, do you realize that over 80% of the supplements that are being sold at your major stores now don't even contain in the bottle what is on the label? That is major fraud. Wow. And this was something that was on the news that they talked about. And of course, they say, oops, we've been caught, slap our hand, pay a little fine. And then we're going to see they just keep doing business as usual. So let's start with a company that I'm going to take a few of the companies and we're going to do a little walk through their history, walk through their episodes in their company and see what's happening today with them. And you can ask yourself the question, do I trust them? Would I put their product in my body once you have now been exposed to the truth, once the light has been shown? So Jordan Rubin branded his name from his wonderful testimony and his book, The Maker's Diet. And but in 2012 and 2012, it was tested for salmonella poisoning. Now, salmonella poisoning can kill you, especially if you're young or elderly. because it can create dehydration. It can create throwing up and dehydration diarrhea very quickly. And it can pose a threat to your life, especially if you're young or if you're elderly. But then again, they were caught and they said, we'll recall and we'll do better, slap the hand. And then all of a sudden in 2014, 2 years later, they were tested again by an independent lab and they were found with lead. So take your pick. You want salmonella, you want lead, we're serving it all up at this manufacturer tonight. And then recalls of products and promising to do better all over again. And then manufacturer was actually Douglas Lab, was the manufacturer for Garden of Life at that time. And now we know that Nestle bought them all. They bought innovative, anyhow, I'll remember the company that they actually purchased, but they purchased several companies because Garden of Life is not just one company. They actually conducted business underneath an umbrella of another major company out of Canada. And so they used a huge pharmaceutical lab to make their vitamins and supplements called Douglas Lab. So here we see that sold to Nestle, and so Nestle says, okay, we will cover your and regain, let's say, your consumer trust by covering the label and giving it two labels, the organic seal and the non-GMO verified project seal. So those are two of the top seals sold today in America. Those are seals that would not, let's say, pass inspection for standards in Japan or in Australia, but they are commonly known in America. So in 2019, so that's just a few years after 2012, 2014. And in 2019, they were caught by the Clean Label Project having the highest level of arsenic and lead and BPA in their product. Now, how can you go from salmonella to lead to more lead, now add some arsenic and add some BPA? And my goodness, what are we running? A chemical factory here? Nestle was voted, by the way, the top 10 most hated corporations in the world for their atrocities and crimes against humanity. And then Jordan Rubin has now pulled away, formed another company, and he's partnered quite a bit with Dr. Axe and others to sell anything from coffee to collagen. Sound familiar? Sounds familiar. So here is a letter. I want to show you how they actually snow the fans that have attached themselves to the brand of Garden of Life. And so here's a letter to the fans. Dear Garden of Life fans, today we announce the exciting news. The Garden of Life will become a part of Nestle. We are so thrilled. And the combination of this signals, we will now have the highest level of standards. We will now be safe and secure. We will now give you what you've been wanting. And we're going to give double seals on our product. And it's going to be based on real whole food, plant foods. And it has, we're going to have a seat at the largest tables in the world. And then we say, we realize we just could not do this alone. So in other words, they're admitting to you that they could not control the standards. They're admitting to you that ever since the company started, they have not been able to have a system set in place for controlling the raw materials coming in to make their formulas. So they said, we realized we could never have done this alone. In order to scale true organics, you know, We need to be certified. We need help. We need Nestle's help. And Nestle came to our rescue for high quality, meaningful products at a price that you could afford. We actually set out on a mission to find a partner that would honor our values and embrace our mission to help us find Garden of Life's true potential. Now, apparently they didn't find that Nestle had already had a tainted, dark, very dark past. Apparently they didn't do their research about the history of Nestle. And so here you see that they're saying, again, we always will remain the same. Nothing will ever change. And so, and here's the key. I want you to see this in this letter. Without you, we wouldn't be where we are today. Bingo, you're the consumer. You're choosing to put money in their pocket. You're choosing to buy their product because you've gotten attached to a brand, and you get mad at the person that tries to tell you that that particular brand is not the best quality to put in your body. You should get angry at the company for not holding up higher levels of standards. Wow. So Nestle buys Garden of Life for only 2.3 billion. And Nestle has been attempting to get the health and wellness industry for quite some time. And this is where their time to make a move and buying a stake in the pharmaceutical Merck vitamin business. So in other words, they want control. It's about control. And so they're into, do you see down here in the bottom one where it says Nestle is also very fond of using synthetic vitamins? Do you see that? They're very fond. They love their synthetics. Why do you think they like their synthetics? Because it's cheap and they make a big profit and they make their stockholders very, very happy. So it says here, oh yeah, Atrium Innovations. That's the company that Garden of Life was doing business under. And they were a huge protein shake manufacturer and vitamin manufacturer out of Canada. And they purchased them. So this is, and with that came Pure Encapsulations. I hear this all the time. I take Pure Encapsulations. So you'll see that there's only, and I say this a lot, there's only a few manufacturers that own, it's like the octopus that controls all of the industry, and they're seeking to grab all of it. So what's wrong with the consumer? Toxic from baby food to pet food. Let's take a look at this quick video on Nestle.
If you're like me, when you think of Nestle, you think of chocolate. But what you may not know is Nestle is one of the largest corporations in the world and includes everything from candy to skin and hair care products, pet food, bottled water, and even some clothing brands. One of Nestle's biggest offenses occurred in 1977 when they were caught aggressively marketing breast milk substitutes to mothers in developing countries. Now, there are a few problems with this besides the obvious. First of all, these ads were claiming the formula was basically the same as regular breastfeeding. They told the mothers they should wean their children off of breast milk early and switch them to Nestle food, or their child would become anemic because eventually breast milk is not sufficient for fast-growing bodies. In order to even properly use baby formula, you need clean water, and the areas where they were heavily promoting this formula didn't have access to clean water. Plus, a large portion of mothers using this formula were unaware of the sanitation standards required for cleaning the water, and even if they were, very few of them had the means to do so. All of these things led to weakened immune systems in the children, causing a major increase in infant deaths. Nestle was administering free formula in hospitals and maternity wards, and because mothers were using the formula too early, it damaged their lactation abilities, ultimately causing them to be dependent on the formula. So what did the moms do that now couldn't lactate and didn't want to go through the trouble of boiling water to clean it? They would go and buy bottled water, and guess who has you covered on that front? Nestle. It's a little known fact that Nestle is one of the world's largest producers of bottled water. They are so invested in their bottled water business that chairman of Nestle once famously alluded to people not having a universal right to water. Recently, Nestle has been draining the aquifers that it has control over, with little regard to the environmental impacts. They have basically ignored the California drought. Starbucks recently began efforts to move their Ethos bottling factory to the East Coast to conserve water in California. In response to this, the CEO of Nestle was asked if they would consider moving their facilities. He responded, "Absolutely not. In fact, if I could increase it, I would." Side note, speaking of not caring about the environment, a report filed in 1997 showed that Nestle and Cadbury had both breached the water pollution limits over 2,000 times in over 800 locations. So yeah, anyway, back to your regularly scheduled corporate atrocities. Nestle has been sourcing water from the San Bernardino National Forest without a permit since 1988. Once they were caught without a permit, they were not required to disclose how much water they were siphoning, and they only had to pay a $524 annual fee for not having a permit. Now, don't go sending all your bottled water to California just yet. There is someone else Nestle is screwing over that may need it more. There is a small Pakistani community that doesn't have access to clean water, and many children are sick because Nestle is taking all of the accessible clean water. Nestle has also denied the village's request to pipe in clean water. They've also just been bottling regular old tap water. That's right, Nestle has been selling consumers repackaged City Punch. Surprisingly, a lot of companies do this, but Nestle claims that their tap water in a bottle is 100% natural spring water. Nestle has also been exposed for using coca beans for their chocolate products that came from plantations that profited from child slave labor. In some cases, the exploited children were as young as 12 years old. The FLA uncovered multiple violations after visiting over 250 farms and finding 56 workers under the age of 18 and 27 under the age of 15. While you're throwing away all your Kit Kats and Crunch bars, you might as well grab those Nestle Toll House cookies as well, because in 2009, the CDC reported several cases of E. coli in the cookie dough. Over 50 people became ill in 30 states, and there was one fatality. That's right, everyone. Nestle killed someone with a cookie. In 2008, 6 infants were killed and over 850 were hospitalized in China after milk that was produced by Nestle was contaminated with melamine. Melamine is a product that is illegally added to certain food products to increase the amount of protein. Even after the company found and began taking care of the problem, the number of people affected rose to a whopping 300,000. Those are zombie apocalypse numbers, people. And finally, when the folks at Nestle aren't busy weaponizing milk and cookies, they are collaborating with their friends at Hershey and Mars to fix the prices of chocolate bars to keep prices high and increase their profits. I guess Hershey and Mars saw all the crazy stuff Nestle was doing and said, "Hey, break me off a piece of that unethical business practice."
So I think you get the picture that when the CEO of Garden of Life says we searched the world over and we found the most honest, honorable, wonderful company to partner with, and nothing will change because we believe this, this, and this. So, all right, you don't believe the words, you believe the actions, right? You watch the actions, you watch the choices that they're making and the history that they're making and the devastation that they're leaving behind. So let's see. I'm looking to go to the next. There we go. So Nestle is gobbling up the organics. Atrium Innovations owns Douglas Lab, Pure Encapsulations. They also own several others. Nestle acquired Bountiful Company Core Products for $5.75 billion in the spring of 2021, and including Nature's Bounty, Solgar, Osteo Bioflex, and Puritan's Pride. So here all of a sudden they just acquiesced an entire en masse group of supplements that you think are your brand. After all, you've been taking them for years and years and years. All of a sudden, things are shifting. Things are not the same anymore in the industry. Nestle's goal is to fold these brands into Nestle's Health Science to make it a global leader in nutritional supplements. Like we trust Nestle for our health and our nutritional supplements, the transactions. So let's take a look. Nestle purchases now in 2019 Persona. Have you ever heard of these companies that say that they do DNA testing, and they'll test your DNA and they actually will prescribe the nutrition according to their DNA testing? That's this company right here, Persona, and Nestle just acquired them. They are out of, I do believe, either Germany or Britain. And they individualize assessment meets consumers' desires for individualized, personalized nutrition. And the personalized nutrition, as well as retail market, which includes dietary supplements, nutraceuticals, functional foods, and rapidly expanding estimates that will reach 50 billion. This is an industry that they're expecting to reach 50 billion by 2025, because people are really intrigued with the concept of DNA, and you can do a DNA test and tell me if I'm, short in B12, and you can prescribe me a specific synthetic formula that will, address my specific issues. How interesting is that? Time-tested intentions, originally published in February of 2014, when they first were identified with the I believe it was salmonella. Yes, it was lead, cambium, and tungsten, which there are no safety levels. And Sun Warrior was also a part of this independent lab test. And they were both found to be high in lead, cambium, and tungsten, which, by the way, all of those cause cancer. Again, they promised to do better. Mike Adams did this testing in 2014. They promised to do better. They said, we will make sure we're never going to allow that to happen again. We're going to test everything. We're going to send people out to the farms. We're going to do this and we're going to do that. But do they really have the workforce to get the job done? It's kind of like saying a 12-year-old boy, I'm going to build you a house. Well, and I'm going to do it all by myself. Really? I'd like to see that happen. And so they don't have the equipment, the workforce in place. They don't even have the knowledge, because they don't have the philosophy. So bottom line, if you don't have the desire, you'll never proceed forward with anything else. So here you can see they promise again, time-tested intentions in 2016, where it actually shows the company with the salmonella outbreak. And by the way, people got very, very sick, and some of them died from taking these products. Clean Label Project comes on board in 2018, 2019, and exposes, the arsenic, lead found in popular proteins, and showing that, again, Garden of Life was the highest offender. And these substances have been linked to cancer, brain damage, reproductive issues. These toxins accumulate in the body and can stay there for years. So I had people say, well, surely, I haven't taken those products in quite some time, so maybe I've detoxed from them. No, these are heavy metals. Heavy metals come into the body and they like to stay and hang around. And that is why it's real important to do a detox, especially a Dr. Arthur First heavy metal detox, because your supplements you took prior may be causing you lingering problems down the road. And here also is a chart of the collagen proteins that were tested and how many of them had these lead and had these heavy metals, toxins were found in them. And many of them were organic brands, meaning they had the USDA organic seal on them, testing positive. So the one spending all the money to prove they have the best is the highest offender. Garden of Life, organic protein shakes. Some of the other violators that were tested from Clean Label Project was Isopure, Quest Chocolate, 360 Cut Performance, Vega, and Orgain. Those were some of the other offenders. And again, it's because number one, they say a lot on the label, they say a lot in their commercials, they say a lot on their website, but they just don't have the workforce in place because they don't have the philosophy, they don't have the funds, the philosophy, or the workforce to back what they're saying. So I think we would call it arrested development. So this actually is what I found recently on Garden of Life's website. Where else have you heard the term traceability? That's actually on Neolife's website. I could see a lot of phrases that they have taken directly from Neolife's website, holding our company to a higher standard. So again, the way you do one thing is the way you are going to do everything, until you can regain and reestablish a clean track record. Because if you're a thief today and you're a thief tomorrow and you're a thief the next day, you can't say I'm no longer a thief, because you got to have a distance between you and your thievery before someone's going to trust you again, right? So here we have on their website, oh, we have now full traceability. You can trust us. We're raising the bar. We are going all out for you with USDA organic, and we're holding our company to a high standard with third-party seals. Now, when you take a look at their third-party seals, we'll go over them in a minute. 4 principles that guide our process of Garden of Life. So now they're talking about principles. They're talking about what sets us apart. You know, what does set us apart? Well, I can name a few things that set them apart right now, but their verbiage is, we empower extraordinary health. You know, they pay somebody a lot of money to market and phrase their marketing in this fashion. Why Garden of Life? Why you should choose us today? Because we're raising the bar. We're set apart. We have a strong philosophy to give you the best. Really, beware of words with no proven actions behind them. Beware, caveat emptor. Beware, consumer. This is a chart that actually is showing you what 14 top corporations own today in the world. And you can see here all that Nestle owns, the newest acquisition of Atrium Innovations, which included Garden of Life, Douglas Lab, and Pure Encapsulations. You can also see that all the products, why Neolife provides home care, skin care, beauty care, personal care, because we're actually helping people to buy from a trusted source, stop promoting and encouraging and patting the pockets of corporations that are not seriously looking out for you and your family's health. And so you can see here, Mars, Johnson & Johnson's, Kellogg's, Unilever, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, Kraft, R&P, P&G, Procter & Gamble. They own all this conglomerate. And by the way, they have a grocer manufacturing organization that is an umbrella over every single one of them. They may look like the competitors or not. They have a grocer manufacturer organization that is stacked with lawyers that protect them in case they ever feel like they're being threatened, even though it may be true. They don't care about whether it's the truth or not. They just care about their bottom line and their profitability margin going down and being affected. So Nature's Bounty, by the way, was owned by Nature's Bounty TY, owned by, I did this research, took me hours to do this research, but Alphabet. Now, if you know who Alphabet is, Alphabet owns Google. So how about this? Mr. Google now owns your vitamins. Look at how many brands they've already acquisition: Nature's Bounty, Solgar, Balance, Bioflex, Sundown, Organic Doctor, Ester C, Body Fortress, Metagenics. I mean, these are MedRx. These are just a few of them that they actually own under the NBTY. What they do is many of these big corporations will buy and shift and buy and shift and buy and shift. So it's a game to them. And if it's going to profit them and they're going to pad the pocket of the other person, they're going to sell or buy or sell. And so this is why I'm saying when we get attached to a brand, we have no idea who really is behind the curtain, moving and shifting and controlling what is really going inside that supplement that we're taking. Is your supplement lying to you? Level up the standards. Let's take a look at Garden of Life protein shakes. Yes. About is a Neolife a complete family profile of 22 amino acids? Yes. Is Garden of Life? No. Is Neolife a human food source? Yes. Is Garden of Life? No. Is Neolife tested for over 200 toxic chemicals? Yes. Is Garden of Life? No. Is Neolife clinically tested on humans to prove health benefits? Is Garden of Life? No. Is Neolife pre-digested so it doesn't put a burden on your kidneys? Yes. Is Garden of Life? No. So therefore it will put a burden on your kidneys. Is Neolife, will it spike your blood sugar in the technology of GR2 response? Yes. Garden of Life? No. How about the score that talks about the quality that the USDA actually tests for? And Neolife is 1.74. A 1 is a perfect score. And Garden of Life? No. And Neolife never had a lawsuit or a product recall. Ding, 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 ding. This should be all you need to hear. This should be all you need to see. Show me the clinical human studies you've done to prove that it's going to help me. And has your company had any product recalls? Has it had any lawsuits? Wow. What a proven track record. Amazing difference. Amazing difference. So now let's level up the label on Now vitamins. We've been hearing a lot about NOW, Now vitamins. So let's take a look at Now vitamins. Neolife is from human whole food sourced. Now vitamins gets their antioxidants from pine bark, pond scum, marigold flowers, and synthetic. Yay. And how about Neolife? Has the SAB seal, which is the highest standards internationally. And Now Vitamins has the good manufacturing practices. Remember that magazine, the Consumer Lab, that I got a lot of my information from, that I purchased a couple of years ago? Well, they go in detail in the magazine exactly what that means to have a good manufacturing practice. It means they come in and they inspect your floors, your machines. Are you clean? Are you picking up your trash? Is your machines being properly cleaned? And is your paperwork in order? Wow. Neolife, is it tested for 200 potential toxins with a zero tolerance? Now vitamins? No. Neolife, is it clinically tested on humans to show its benefit? Yes. How about Now vitamins? No. How about Neolife? Is formulas that so powerfully affected therapeutic concentrated whole food nutrients that is printed and posted in peer-reviewed medical journals? How about Now vitamins? No. How about their fish oil? Neolife's from a salmon. We covered that in a previous slide. Cold pressed, all 8, tested for 200. Now Vitamin chooses krill oil, boiled from methyl esters. Wow, the bottom fish of the sea that I have research showing krill oil can be vitally dangerous to the human body, and especially if you're pregnant and taking krill oil. They've shown documentation that it can cause birth defects. How about their vitamin E? Now vitamins, let's check out their vitamin E. Is it cold pressed? Is it from a human food source? Like the richest source on the planet is a wheat germ? No, it's not cold pressed. It's extracted through those chemicals and heat, and it's from non-organic soy and sunflower oil. Wow. And it doesn't have all 8 of the E. Wow. And Neolife operates under a pharmaceutical licensing for complete 100% label integrity. Does Now Vitamins? No, they actually have a lab called Underwriter Lab that does a few independent testing for them. Now, who is leveling up when comparing these labels? Wow. Ponscom Dunaliella Salina. You've heard Louis talk about this quite a bit. Wow. When I did my research on this, I was wowed and zowed. Toxicity and trophic transfer factors from this. It's a creature. It's a hydra creature in the ocean, in the salt water, folks. And it's the major source of all antioxidants sold today in supplements. Wow. And we're gonna see it's, I've had people tell me, well, your carotenoids don't have enough xanthanin. And my doctor said I needed 1,000 milligrams of this xanthanin. Well, what if your xanthanin's coming from a genetically modified Hydra amoeba? Would that make a difference? It's a carotenoid, Dunaliella metabolic engineering. They're genetically modifying, bioengineering these Hydra amoebas. Oh my is right. But they're excited because it's cheap and because they can pass it off to you as an unsuspecting consumer. I'm getting my xanthanin to protect my eyes. I'm getting my xanthanin to protect my body. What? Wow. So let's take a look. Expanding their business in high demand. I take a look at the business structure of this industry. Dunaliella Salina market is now worth $122 million by 2028. They are expanding, folks, because people are running out there and they're grabbing any kind of supplement to fill the gap. Wow, especially after COVID-19. But Dunaliella market users, extraction companies, they use it in your, you know what they use it in? They use it in those flavored drinks you're drinking. They use it in energy drinks you're drinking. They're using it in cosmetics. Wow. Oh yeah, my cosmetics is fortified with a carotenoid or a xanthanin from an amoeba, the cosmetic industry. And they're expecting these industries to absolutely expand greatly by 2028. Wow. So let's take a look at a quick video on this pond scum in Australia who manufactures the most Dunaliella Salina in the world. Do you see it? That's those Hydra that they're generating, genetically modified bioengineering in these massive waters in Australia. Wow. So let's do another dive into what this is really about. Cloning of carotenoids? What? Come on now. It's supposed to come from a tomato and an apricot and a peach and a spinach and a strawberry and a pepper, right? Not an amoeba grown by genetic engineering. Biosynthetic routine might have, listen, I got to read this because this is freaking me out. I hope so. Biosynthetic route might have advantages. One of these advantages could be the rising consumer preference of natural over synthetic. So this is how they're going to sell it to you. It's natural, just like rocks. just like petroleum. It's natural. So what's your problem? So the main market for beta carotene being as a colorant in provitamin A compounds. So this is where they're going to extract vitamin A. This is where they're going to extract their carotenoids. This is where they're going to get your antioxidants from the bottom of the food chain marine species. Regulation of these zeaxanthin and its intermediates through cloning, genetic transformation of beta carotene, ketolase in Hematococcus pulveris. So in other words, these are creatures that are being genetically modified. Let's take a look at some of them. There they are. They got these little Hydra feelers. So in other words, this is scary. And again, they're very bold and they put it on the back of the label because they've already marketed it as natural. They've marketed it as it's coming from a plant or an animal or an earth source rather than petroleum, gasoline. Aren't you happy about that? So let's take a look at blue-green algae, which is a big, and spirulina, which is very big. I used to take blue-green algae. I used to take barley green. I took so much barley green that my teeth turned green. I drank so much carrot juice that my skin turned orange. I didn't have to dress up at Halloween. So let's take a look at a couple of videos, and the doctor you're going to listen to is one of the doctors that I actually had to, for my extra credits in my course, had to listen to him do several classes. So this is his take on blue-green algae and spirulina as a health product.
It's expensive too.
I'd also recommend staying away from the tiny dark green leafies, blue-green algae, and spirulina. The story starts in Guam, where the Chamorro people were eating perhaps the world's cutest bat, the flying fox. That was a mistake, since it turns out the flying fox's favorite fruit is from this funky-looking tree whose watery roots concentrate a toxin produced by some rare algae. The result was that the Chamorro started dying of something called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis Parkinsonism dementia, basically a combination of Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and Lou Gehrig's disease. And we used to think neurotoxins were limited to rare exotic algae, but now we know otherwise. We now know that almost all blue-green algae can produce neurotoxins like BMAA. Turns out the only two places one may be likely to find BMAA is in the brains of Alzheimer's patients and at the local natural food store in the form of blue-green algae. So until we know more, I recommend leaving that particular product out of your cart. And this spirulina, the other pond scum, well, it's good for our blood pressure and our cholesterol, and seems to work wonders against seasonal allergies, but spirulina may dissolve our muscles from the inside out. It's always better when our food doesn't kill us.
Terrible. I used to do.
I thought about all the bottles that I paid for this stuff and put in my body. No wonder I've been doing detox after detox. Oh my Lord. Now let's go to another one. You ready for this one? All right.
What's the latest on spirulina supplements? The reason I told everyone to throw their spirulina away was that it was found to produce hepatotoxins. While blue-green algae supplements had the brain toxins, spirulina supplements were found to have liver toxins. Should we continue to avoid this stuff? Yes. Now, spirulina can boast neurotoxins as well. In 2009, a potent neurotoxin was found in spirulina supplements for the first time.
So I don't think we would want to be putting any of these things in our cart anymore, because I can tell you how many times I hear this from people saying that they've been taking this barley green, blue-green algae, spirulina. And I had a lady the other day that had been taking barley green, blue-green algae for 20 years. And I showed her these quick videos, and she confessed to me that the company has admitted that they cannot keep it clean, and they're actually having to move their facility on how they actually grow it and obtain it because it has gotten so bad. Thank God she switched over to a Pro Vitality pack, which I showed her she could get clean, pure, quality nutrients to meet her body's needs through that rather than through the blue-green algae. So spirulina and blue-green algae dangers, concerns about contamination with heavy metals and microcystines, mercury and other heavy metals. Consumers of spirulina supplements could lead to accumulation of heavy metals. And so this lady, she was like, do I need to detox? 20 years worth, yes. And you need to do a 30-day detox. What's more, some spirulina supplements have found to contain these microcystines, which are toxic to the liver, as he just talked about, which can accelerate tumor growth. Hello, promote growth of tumors. They also state that contaminated blue-green algae could cause just basic symptoms of diarrhea, vomiting, stomach cramps, weakness, thirsty, rapid heartbeat, and if worse goes to worse, it could kill you. Wow. So who uses these pond scums? Are you ready for this? This is just a very short list. How about AIM, Purium, Plexus, Now, Shaklee, Juice Plus, Amway? Are these any of your brand favorites? Yes. Oh, my. And this is just a few of them. You saw the industry, how massive the industry is. So Herbalife, let's talk about Herbalife. Herbalife started in a wig factory. Yay, that's where I want my nutrition to come from, a wig factory. So here are a few of the research that I found about the liver damage, the lead, containing lead and salmonella. Sounds like they have a lot in common with Garden of Light, doesn't it? Here, liver damage. Thursday morning on Twitter accounts claims Herbalife cost a woman her life. How about a Journal of Hematology scholarly article 2007 talking about that acute hepatitis identified in Israel. Several additional scholarly journals talking about, because they're all over the world. They're in Spain, they're in Mexico, they're in Israel. Here we are, reports of people dying in Mexico from liver damage taking Herbalife. The last major critic who looked at the lead content in their products for undisclosed reasons in a settlement, meaning they were paid money to hush hush because they were damaged because he proved that the product he'd been taking was full of lead. Wow, might I say, there are zero safe levels for lead. Herbalife, 1985, Hughes attracted a lot of attention, but he also attracted a lot of attention from the government regulators. And in California, the State Department of Health Services got a lot of complaints about their product, misleading people, untrue marketing statements, full of caffeine as a stimulant, causing adrenal problems, kidney problems, complaints alleging that Herbalife product users had suffered illness and death in the US. Now, mind you, I want to put a disclaimer here. I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor. I'm just sharing some information that is research that I found. And it's, it's not opinion, because these are court appointed research that judges oversaw, and people were paid out from these lawsuits. And the government got involved in this. The California charges were settled at $850,000 for their damage. And then what do? This is typical of a company when they're getting some heat in America. They expand. In 1988, they go to New Zealand, France, Spain, Germany, Israel, and Mexico. Wow, with their same formulas. So here in 1980 is when Herbalife got started, and we all know the story that Jerry Brasfield actually knew Mark Hughes and mentored Mark Hughes in Neolife, and he left Neolife and started selling his own product out of the trunk of his car called Herbalife. Denisha, what did you say? He took the language and left behind the quality. Was that it? He took the language and left behind the quality. So in 1982, just 2 years after they started, the FDA sends a notice of advertising saying you're falsely advertising, you're falsely advertising. In 1985, Herbalife is labeled one of the fastest growing companies in the United States. Then in 1986, the company officially takes on the name of Herbalife International and goes boom, public international. In other words, they sold out to a corporate, or sold out to a investment firm. And so they were no longer privately owned. And then the company continues aggressive action into Japan, Spain, and New England. And I'm just trying to find my cursive here. And then they head on over to Israel and Mexico again in 1991 with the help of international businesses. Sales are skyrocketing. People are making money. People are dropping weight. And they're also having all kinds of liver damage, kidney damage, adrenal damage. Sales reached 700 billion. 1995, the company introduces a line of personal care products. They're expanding. 1997, the firm again becomes subject to a negative publicity because lawsuits begin to mount, more lawsuits. In 1999, Mark Hughes tries to take back the company from the firm that he sold it to be privatize it again. And in 2000, Mark Hughes dies unexpectedly.
Oh, must be his product. Or what?
Because I'm being recorded, I won't go any further. Wow, these are some things I just simply found on the internet because some people were very unhappy when they took the product. Bodybuilder gets jaundice from creatine and protein supplements. Herbalife damages the liver. A healthy man of 27, a fanatical bodybuilder developing liver damage and jaundice after the protein shakes. This was confirmed by Mount Sinai Medical Center in New York. Wow, several cases of liver disease. Here's a PubMed article about Neolife and their independent studies. Listen, folks, these diet supplements aren't what they're made out to be. Slimming to death, Is it worth it? Herbalife associated fatal acute liver failure, heavy metals, toxic compounds. Folks, this is out of PubMed. Bacteria contaminants, psychotropic agents. Wow, this is the cocktail of all cocktails, folks. Products sold in India. Wow. So it's saying it can deteriorate the level of function of your kidneys to a point to where a transplant would be mandatory. Now here's trouble rising in Israel and Switzerland, and they had some of their citizens that were harmed. They took it to court, they won, and they banned Herbalife from those countries. Slimming at all costs. Herbalife said that Spain had an issue and alerted their people to stop taking and consuming Herbalife products. Due to suspicious causes of liver damage, Herbalife said it was in discussion in the ministry. So in other words, every time they were given a discussion, they said, it's not us, it must be the person. They must, it's their problem, not our problem. Polished marketing are global quality standards. So here is direct words out of Herbalife's website today. Our global quality standards, folks. Why our products, why you should choose us over Garden of Life, because we give you some extra additives. Our ingredients, though, come from farmers. Don't you love the farmers who are committed to meeting high standards and conservations? And we've invested in advanced production methods to craft the highest quality science-backed products. Don't you want to take Herbalife? We continuously test our products. What do they test for? From sourcing to manufacturing to distribution. Sounds like Neolife, right? Arduous protocols that ensures that comply not only with our uniform global standards, but also we exceed industry standards as well as with all government regulations. Our 6 Herbalife nutritional innovation and manufacturing facilities are around the world, and we are the highest cutting edge technology, science, research, data. And here are our 3 seals to prove it. ISO, which means certifies that we have a lab with the technology capable of testing our products. And NSF, which means that it does not contain substances that have been banned in sports. Too bad they don't ban lead, arsenic, and GMP, good manufacturing practices. We sweep our floors, we keep our machines clean, and our paperwork is in order, folks. Come on over and trust us. But let's take a look. When I went and pulled their ingredient list, this is just to name a few. I did this last night. China and Belgium have reportedly banned also Herbalife, considering the reports of dangerous side effects from their ingredient list. Let's take a look at one, canola oil. Now, we know canola oil is genetically modified and it causes inflammation. How about MSG? That burrows holes in the brains of rats. How about artificial sweeteners? Hey, this also burrows holes in the brains of rats. So if you're taking Herbalife, you'll forget you're taking Herbalife. And you won't know you're taking Herbalife. You'll even forget you're married, and you'll forget who your wife and husband is. Herbalife diet linked to brain ailment. Hello, bingo. And an Italian case of a lawsuit where a man died drinking Herbalife said that he died from poor nutrition, harmful ingredients. Wow. When the Federal Trade Commission investigates, they open in other countries. That's what they do. When the heat is on in America, they push forward to other countries. And what happens here? 2016, they actually paid out $200 million in restructuring its business and issuing refunds to Herbalife distributors that were having health problems taking the product. Herbalife has been sued in Belgium. They've been sued in Israel. They reported over 50 reports of liver toxicity attributed to Herbalife products in Spain, Israel, Latin America, Switzerland, Iceland, and the US and India, and in Mexico, as we saw before. A recent article, which we saw, slimming to death. And I had to fight to find that article because when I went to the original post, they said they forced them to take it down. Toxins, psychotropic drugs, pathogens, bacteria, and heavy metals. That's a special cocktail. Herbalife toxicity, 53 cases in suspected toxicity. Evaluated 8 cases were assumption of toxicity reported confirmed by unintentional repeated exposure. They do recommend you drink these shakes every day, by the way. They found quality problems, missing data, confounding variables and uncertainties. They concluded casualties and 8 of the cases and concluded. So yes, so Herbalife side effects, in my opinion, again, I am not a scientist, I'm not a doctor. Please consult your own brain, and your own research before you put these products in your body. How safe is Herbalife? In my opinion, Herbalife is not a safe option to opt for if you want to burn down the unwanted fats, especially if you have an underlying health issue already. There are cases of liver injury, hepatotoxicity, which is jaundice, that were reported due to an intake of Herbalife products. Back the claim of it being unsafe for anyone, not to mention the kidney problems one might face, especially if he or she kidney is already in a weakened state. All of this makes Herbalife a not so smart, safe choice, an option for your nutritional needs, except if you're sure you have no hidden problems with your health. Go for it, right? I hope not. I hope you're smarter than that. All right. So here actually is the lab results in a court of law in India when they had the lawsuits that came forth from India showing the different liver problems and kidney issues from drinking the Herbalife protein shakes. Here again, lead found, and people that were paid money because they proved it in a court of law because they got damage from it. So again, here's some more lawsuits, more lawsuits, more lawsuits. 2 years ago, liver doctors sounded the alarm about cases of liver damage, and they actually didn't know what was exactly causing the liver damage from the product. And so they were unable to say which component in the Herbalife, is it the lead? Is it the arsenic? Is it the salmonella? Is it the bacteria? Is it the drugs? What is it? But research at the University of Bern made an attempt to do so. In an article published this year in the Journal of Hematology, they found that there is a specific bacteria that in Herbalife products that is causing the liver damage, probably like Duna Liella Selena, perhaps. So here actually is a chart of who is owning Herbalife. It's showing Amway owns Herbalife. Are you watching this? They also own Metagenics, which is also a major weight loss program. And look here, the Carlyle Group, which the first video that I showed talks about Puritan's Pride, Solgar, Ester C, Bioflex, Vega, White Wave owns that. So there's only a few handful of corporations that own the lockdown of our supplement industry, and that's not enough. They're wanting it all. Wow. And here you see who owns Centrum. Emergency, never put an emergency in your body. There's been warnings and lawsuits about that. That stuff comes out of China, owned by Pfizer. No, 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 no. So the next, I want to show you the next chart. Okay, that must be on the next slide. Guidelines to live by, and we're sharing what they know. And this is what came to me. The thoughts were, Levon, when you're trusting someone and advertising something, ask yourself this question: what do they know? Who is talking to me, and what do they really know? Is all they're doing is paid to market and sell me something, or do they really care? And is their philosophy the same as my philosophy? In other words, do they have the same worldview that I have? That we are out to help humanity and not harm humanity. And if I can make if I make a profit off of doing you harm, then that is evil intent. So where are you going to put your money? And can you bet on your health? Is it playing Russian roulette? What is it going to be today? Lead, arsenic, bacteria, Dunaliella, Hydra, genetically modified amoebas? What is it going to be today? Put your life in the hands of those who do not know. Never put your life in the hands of those who do not know. In fact, it's been shared with me, is never counsel with anyone that doesn't look out for your best interest. Never allow someone to counsel you or feed into your life that's not genuinely looking out for your best interest. And many of you know my story as to why I do passionately what I do. And this is the reason why, is because I was fed up with the fraudulent activity I had seen in the industry, and I'd given up. I'd lost my dream. And I said, Lord, apparently it's not out there. But God had his hand on a specific company for 64 years today. So let's take a look at food recommendations and daily values are measured according to the levels that keep you from getting disease that are immediate symptoms, such as pellagra from vitamin B deficiency. How about scurvy from vitamin C deficiency? How about night blindness from vitamin A deficiency? Or beriberi from vitamin B1 deficiency? Or rickets from vitamin D deficiency? Or goiter from iodine deficiency? And osteoporosis from calcium, magnesium, and D deficiency. So what is on that label is going to say daily recommended amounts. If it's made from synthetic, if it's made from a non-human source, I don't recommend that you take any amount other than what's recommended on the label, because it will cause more problems in your body quicker, faster. So, but the label amounts are based upon standards to actually keep your body from slipping and sliding into scurvy, slipping and sliding into rickets or goiters. So, and again, as we learned in the very beginning, it is not good to take mega amounts of synthetic or non-human form of supplements. But what if it's from whole food, human food sourced? What if you had the opportunity to put your hands on something that is quite amazing, that is outside of the box, that beats to a different drum than the standard philosophy of profit over humanity? Let's take a listen at who they are.
I think one of the great achievements for the company, in fact, was the setting of the whole quality control system, as we see more and more the problems other companies have been having with quality. I've always been a great believer that if you're upfront with your quality, make sure that the products, especially raw materials, are to the specifications that one expects of a company like Neolife, then you can already have a lot of control over what you're doing. And it means that, in fact, then right down the line from the choice of raw materials, from manufacture to actually sales of the products, we can say these are really the best.
Every single ingredient is safe and effective. It's going to be the right potency. It's the right identity. We make sure that we know everything about the ingredient before we even put it into a product. What's on the label is in that product. We make sure that it's going to be effective. It's going to do exactly what is expected, and maybe even a little more.
It's not just about feeling well, it's about really being your best, performing your best. And traveling around the world with Neolife, I've seen and talked to so many people who've had such fantastic experience, their self, their families, their friends.
Our reputation's on the line behind each product. We stand behind each product, and we know you do too. What the future holds is a greater and greater ability for us to take control of our own health through nutrition. Not to rely on drugs or pharmaceuticals while they have their place, but for us to take control of our health and our nutrition and our well-being.
Knowing what we have in the pipeline today, I'm really so excited about taking nutritional science to a whole new level, in fact.
Part of the research that I do is to look around the marketplace and look at other products. Our products are the best. They're leading edge, they're cutting edge, whole food.
So to all of the Neolife family out there, thank you so much for being a part of this, because it really does give meaning to the work that we do.
All right, that was just a short video. I actually filmed it from a longer video, but I loved it because it spoke to everything that we're talking about. There's our scientific advisory board talking about how we test and how we have an integrity, and we have a time-tested integrity, and what our philosophy really is. And so wouldn't you like to have a trusted source of nutrients putting in your body that is bulletproof integrity and nutrition instead of some mystery bottle? This is not the mystery theater. Your health is not something we should gamble with. And so the quality control is beyond organic, meticulous quality control, purity, potency, verifications, socially responsible. In other words, it's time tested. We can prove it, and we have been proving it for 64 years. There's not another company that actually can proclaim that. So criteria for verifying an effective supplement, third-party validation, and it can't be GMP. Beyond organic and standards, that's why we do not have a USDA organic seal on our products. We have an SAB seal on our products. Made from whole food, human food chain nutrients, not from Dunaliella salina, not from pine bark, not from any kind of pond scums, not from petroleum, not from any kind of mysteries, but from real identifiable whole food, human food chain that you generally would serve your family on a dinner table. Assimilates into the body, into the cells. That's why we can say it's real cellular nutrition, because we can prove through clinical human tests that it reaches the cells. It's bioavailability. Wow. And we operate from a pharmaceutical license or therapeutic grade license for label integrity. 100% of what we claim on that label is found in the bottle. And what did our scientific advisory board say? And sometimes even more of the good stuff is inside of it. We never fall short. In other words, we go above and beyond. Human clinical proof, I think that's number one. That's paramount. Don't put another product in your mouth unless that company can independently show you through clinical human studies that it will not harm you. Practitioner tested and peer reviewed in medical literature. So impressed on our formulas that they wanted the world to know what we pioneered and did. Time-tested company, has been in operation for now Neolife 65 years. So beyond organic, Neolife exceeds the quality standards for purity, potency, consistency, and every single major regulatory authority of Australia and Japan. Why do you think Herbalife was kicked out of Japan? How do we create the finest, safest, and most effective products in the world? Here's where we start, created by doctors. And these are authentic doctors, not in name only. Whole food-based cellular nutrition, non-GMO and full traceability, clinically proven, human clinical studies, superior to quality, products at the lowest possible cost to consumer. As a matter of fact, you can actually go to your website and view these and click on them if somebody has questions, and show them about the full traceability, show them about our non-GMO, show them about our SAB doctors and our scientists. Next is world-class research and strategic partnership. Yes, we have some amazing partnerships. Have you ever heard of Linus Pauling? Have you ever heard of Council for Nutritional Efficacy, Responsibility? Those are some of the organizations that we actually work with. And we work with these organizations on a continued basis, conducting research, conducting test models of from our clinical human research. We work with over 2,500 healthcare professionals all over the world that help us conduct that research. And there is one beyond organic farm to table solution producer based on nature's blueprint. See, your philosophy's got to be in nature. If your philosophy is not in nature, then we're not on the same page. You're not going to produce a product that would be compatible to my standards, because my standards are based in nature. You may say it on the label, you may say it on the website, but if you're getting your beta carotene from Dunaliella salina, then that tells me something opposite of what you're saying. Actions speak louder than your words. And the first whole food nutraceutical pioneer. So you can say Neolife is the pioneer. We were the first ever in the industry to think that nutrition should come from whole foods. And our philosophy has been from the beginning of 1958 to put back into the body what industry has been stripping out of our lyophilized foods, from the oils to the nutrients. And here are some of our amazing partnerships. USDA, yeah, they did the study on the beta carotene. They did studies on our flavonoids. They did studies on our cruciferous, amazing findings. The TGA, which is, I do believe, out of Australia, that's the highest level of standards out of Australia. The Global Science Network, FENRIG. FENRIG is the group of the experts on polyphenol research, we actually formed Fenrig in order to have these amazing scientists from around the world to come together and share their genius and their expertise and their research, rather than just, let it sift through the cracks. Come together and let's produce something that's amazing. That's how we got our tray formula. That's how we got our flavonoid formula. That is why we add so many polyphenols even to our tea. It's quite amazing. So here we have our core nutrition, challenge yourself to live better. And you're getting more nutrition out of one pack of Pro Vitality than dozens of canisters of other products, mystery bottles and mystery products out there. Protective phytolipids, phytosterols, the grain oils, the carotenoids. Change your life one cell at a time. Taking a look at the TRANN. Unless your program for health contains these grain oils, you're going nowhere, because this is where all health starts, is at one cell at a time, receiving that membrane, being able to control what goes in and what goes out. Having a level of control, a level of health on the border of every cell. And here you have it showing Texas A&M University boost in your adrenals 174%, a boost in cellular utilization by 50% increase. If you can increase cellular utilization of nutrients by 50%, you can decrease your level of risk to these chronic diseases by 90%. It all starts right there with that human cell, its ability to receive a real beta carotene, to receive a real xanthine or a real lycopene and lutein or vitamin E or vitamin C to help in reduction of inflammation and oxidation. How about reducing oxidation with a real salmon oil that's in that pack of Pro Vitality, an amazing salmon oil, a fish oil that's been clinically tested on humans, biologically complete, cold pressed, tested for 200 toxins, amazing standardization. It's the only salmon oil in the world that Stanford University will use in their research because they know the efficacy of it. Wow. How about your protein? Your protein needs to meet certain standards, or you're going to say bye-bye kidneys. I want to say hello kidneys, and I'm going to fortify my kidneys to have its lifespan extend by 1/3 rather than strip its lifespan by 1/3. And that's the difference between the kind of protein you're going to put in your body. All 22 amino acids, phytodigestive enzymes for pre-digestion, 18 grams of complete protein. It's a biologically complete with the 21, 22 amino acids, 5 grams of the whole family of fiber, soluble and insoluble. The BCAAS score, which means that it's the quality of amino acids. Is it a synthetic amino acid, or is it a whole food amino acid that's free flowing and able to go about the business of rebuilding, restructuring, repairing, regenerating your tissue and your body, creating all kinds of amazing, wonderful things in your body, because you are amino acids from the top to your soles of your feet. Nitrogen deficient, and that's highest quality digestibility of a 1.73. The branched chain amino acids for lean muscle, that's for our sports formula. Energize, a fat blend. I heard a testimony today, somebody got off of a product that was one of these weight reduction with a lot of synthetic stimulants in it, and they got on our breakfast pack and is already dropping weight with our breakfast pack. 25 essential vitamins and minerals. So it's beyond organic, nothing artificial, completely GMO free and gluten free. Nothing artificial. Complete antioxidant defense with your carotenoid complex, tested by the USDA, time-tested integrity, the proven whole food nutrient that's going to benefit your health, clinically tested. So here we go, 37% boost in your immunity, a reduction in oxidation levels by 44%, and an increase of your front line of defense, your natural killer cells, T cells and C cells by 20%. Amazing. And what is in it? 7 dark colored fruits and vegetables. No Dunaliella salina, no pine bark. It is 7 edible. You would love to see these fruits and berries in a basket in your home on your table, to grab a peach and an apricot and a strawberry and have a bowl of spinach and peppers, and amazing. And then there's a drop of vitamin E and a drop of olive oil in it. Again, we are original manufacturers. So what did we do? We actually developed the machines that gave the results of what we can talk about and what goes in print in peer-reviewed medical journals. It's not somebody else's study, it's our study, it's our research. That's why we've been pioneers in this industry for 64 years. Here's another one of those studies on TREANN. And I think I already showed that once. Comprehensive solutions for targeted core nutrition and then targeted solutions. So you start with your core nutrition and you stack on and build from there, and you help humanity. You help mankind build a house of health with real whole food nutrients. So that concludes our class for tonight. I hope you gleaned something positive, amazing information about the difference between what is out there and what is in Neolife, our trusted source. I'm going to go ahead and see if I can go over here to pause, stop.